All right, what's going on, everybody? So it's been an eventful last couple of days. I've been kind of working on this thing here and there, just putting all the stuff back in for kind of like the final assembly. So, like you guys saw me install this before, so I installed my AOS, just got all that kind of stuff hooked up. My strut bar is just kind of sitting here for now because I gotta lift the suspension and probably do that when it's on the ground. But we got oil in the car now. We got coolant in it. Coolant's all bled. It's looking really good. I was able to source an alternator, so I ended up finding this Bosch unit. This is a Bosch 74 amp alternator, so it's like 4 amps more than stock, I guess. So, but it's a Bosch, really high quality reman. So, got that on there. So I was able to put my nice APR carbon fiber cover on here, kind of snazz it up a little bit. But yeah, I've been kind of just going through all the final stuff, but also just like a lot of testing. And so I've been going through the interior because now that we have a battery in this thing, I'm trying to get things working. So I ended up taking a lot of this stuff back out, so it's a wreck right now. Because basically it was cranking, but it wasn't getting any fuel pump prime or anything. So I kind of temporarily hooked up my oil pressure gauge, and we have 85 psi of oil pressure, so that's all really good. It's exactly what I want. But my ECU wasn't turning on, and the fuel pump wasn't priming, and so I've just been kind of going through wiring stuff and making sure everything's good, making sure the ECU is getting power. And so I kind of ended up pulling all this stuff out and redoing it. So this part's kind of a mess, but the way I had this tucked in here before, kind of like that, is actually a lot cleaner than it was before. I got to put a couple more zip ties back on this stuff, put my cover back on for the steering column and all this stuff, but everything's hooked up. You can see the STI ECU chilling right here. So it actually needs to sit up like that. I need to put some more. I had it tied in place, but we had it down to test some things. So that's all really good. So it's all actually working now. I basically went through it. I had power going to the ECU, but I didn't have any good ground connection on the main power source's ground. And it turned out I just left this bolt loose while we were installing stuff. I ended up taking that off when I was working on the intercooler stuff, and I never retightened it. So I had this kind of on here as a test and stuff like that. But tighten that up. ECU works great. No issues there. And then I went back into here, kind of going over my wiring, because I had power and everything, and the relay was kicking on, but we weren't actually getting supplied power to the blue and white wires here, which are actually our feed to the pump. So it turned out this little connector to my fuel pump controller just wasn't clipped in all the way. So push that guy in there. Now we have fuel pressure. Everything's priming. I found a few leaks already, but that's kind of how things go when you're working with AN fittings. Usually you do find leaks. Mainly it was this one right here. I just left this loose when I was installing the stuff, I guess, so that shot fuel all over the place. I've been cleaning that up. And then a couple of these on the return, on the Y under here for the return, those just need to be tightened up a little bit. They just had a little bit of fuel coming out, but I'm really happy that none of the injectors are leaking, because that's one of the most common things with these injector dynamics injectors, is they have these little cups down here that sit inside the actual housing. So those things have a very small O-ring, and they end up getting torn a lot. So it's really easy to tear them. And luckily this time I was able to do it first try and didn't have any leaking O-rings. So, because that would have been a pain to take all this stuff back apart just to get to those injectors and change the O-rings. So really happy about that. We're building about 45 psi fuel pressure. I put about 5 gallons in the tank, so it's still pretty low, but it should be enough to at least do the cam brake in. I might have to go get another jug of fuel to make it, once we do the first drive, I want to take it down to the gas station and put some gas in it. So, yeah, the Delicious Tuning flex fuel sensor setup is all working great. It's reading about 8% ethanol content right now, which, it's pretty fair for 92 octane we get here in Oregon. So, pretty happy about that. But yeah, it's getting really close. So we have all the fluids in it. While we're kind of doing the things behind the scenes, we made a little bracket for Forrest. Just welded on a little piece of metal here, and then I bolted an OEM power steering bracket right here. So kind of mounts my power steering reservoir right there. It's out of the way of the headlight and everything's all good. I got all new lines and I kind of cut them to fit. So all this is looking really good. The whole cooling system should be bled. Power steering's bled. Oil's good. Yeah, all the fluids are all topped off. So it's really close to being able to start right now. But obviously the tune is way off. So right now it still has the tune from the parts car, which was an 05 STI. It had, I believe, like 750 cc like side feed injectors in it, and some open source weird tune on it. So that's obviously completely different than what we're using. We have top feed IDX 1300s in this thing. So obviously we cannot even try to run it or anything without getting some kind of base tune on it. We're also going to speed density. So I have I actually have the iWire hybrid MAF setup, because I was going to make a hybrid MAF setup in the 4-inch intake, but I kind of decided it's not really necessary, and so I just kind of tucked the wiring up out of the way in the fender, wrapped it up with some electrical tape so it doesn't get any water in it. But that just provides me my IAT sensor, which we put right there. So that's all hooked up and working. I was actually able to hook up a scan tool to the car for the first time. I was able to read codes and stuff, and it does have some codes for the mass airflow sensor stuff and the intake air temperature, but obviously because the tune that's on it is not set up for speed density, so it's looking for a MAF sensor, which it does not have. So, not a huge deal. Basically, my tuner is one of my good friends, so he's going to come down here and actually put a base tune on it for us, and actually be able to be here for the first start and get it running, which is huge, because I had to have the tuner here to actually make changes, while we're running the engine for the first time, because we have to do a cam break in, so we have to hold RPM for, I think it's like you have to hold like 2,500 RPM or 3,000 RPM for like 15 minutes or so, break in those cams, and then we change the oil. So it's pretty important to have him here for that. But we're going to go ahead and I'll show you how this thing primes. Everything's still kind of taken apart, but everything's plugged in, so except for some of our sensors or buttons and stuff up here. But it's going to ding at us, it'll be kind of loud, but so we see our check engine light is on, so that tells us that the ECU is actually on and getting power, and I was able to communicate it through an OBD scanner, so which is kind of funny because this thing is now OBD2, so I got to put all this stuff back together, but figure out a good mounting spot for the oil pressure gauge. So I got one of these Pro Sport oil pressure gauges, so I got to figure out where I'm going to put this. Right now that's our only gauge that we have, because we're going to be running Access Port V3 for the stock ECU, which is going to be pretty awesome. But and then we're using Delicious Tuning for our flex, and so I have an app on my phone that kind of displays fuel pressure and ethanol content. So that'll kind of be our way of interfacing with the flex fuel map, because we're basically going to do a base tune on pump gas, and then you make a secondary map where you pump out all of the gasoline, you run it on straight, E85 ethanol, hopefully as close to like E70 as you can get, because usually pump E70 is about all you get. Unless you want to get some kind of like forge fuels or ignite race fuel or something that has a higher ethanol content. But there's only one gas station around here that sells ethanol, and so pump gas it is. So it's basically going to be probably E70 or so, but it's basically going to take that map and it's going to blend in between them. So I can just go and fill up on E85, and it'll just automatically correct for all that kind of stuff. And you know, if someday I'm not happy with the Cobb stuff anymore and I want to change it out, now that the car is wired to be an 05 STI, I could actually get like a plug and play Haltech kit and plug it in just like it would be a GD like 05 STI, and it'll just plug in. But yeah, I was able to test our drive-by-wire throttle. All that works. I can hear the throttle body moving in there with the key on. But yeah, we're getting really close. I got to put all this interior stuff back together, so I'm sure you guys don't want to watch that. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Alright, so Forrest finished this AC line. Got that thing welded really good. Ended up ruining one of these lines. I had to get another one, but worked out pretty good. Fits pretty good. I put a little bit of this padded fabric tape right here just to make sure this doesn't rub. Yeah, I'm just waiting on the coupler to show up. I needed a 30 degree coupler for that guy, and it should sit kind of something like that. Be pretty perfect. But yeah, I got the other AC line put back in, so all that's done. I'm just kind of going over all the final things. I need to get this strut tower brace put on. It's interesting, this actually does hit the hood, like right around here on one of these ribs. So I'm probably just gonna take this foam thing off and like dent it in and then probably put it back on. But yeah, I did find I have one coolant leak. Just a very tiny pinhole in the water pump, the heater core lines going to the water pump. So not a huge deal. I didn't replace them. The ones I had, I figured were good. They were not good. So definitely should have just bought brand new from the first place, but we'll get it fixed. Those will be here tomorrow, actually. So I'll swap those out. I can just save the coolant, put it right back in. But yeah, everything else is looking really good. We got fuel pressure. We got one more tiny fuel leak down there on the filter. I need to go down there and tighten that fitting. It's just barely seeping a little bit. Otherwise, that's all good. I put the interior back together. So I got my oil pressure gauge mounted up. I didn't really want to drill holes in this thing, but that's kind of a perfect spot for it. I don't want to have a bunch of gauges kind of blocking things, and so having it sit right here next to the access port, I can see it perfect. It'll be just fine. It's in there really good. I ran the wires through there. I just have this wire right here left to connect. This is constant power, so I don't have my multimeter with me right now, so I need to find something that's constant power in there, and I'll just tap into that. But if I can show you down here, I got my OBD port put back in, so that's pretty cool. This is for the access port, so that'll just plug back in there, and the cover will go back on. It's kind of OEM. Looks pretty snazzy. I got this thing painted. I used a trim black, which is too black, and it was way too shiny. I didn't realize it was glossy, so I did a satin clear coat on it, and it doesn't look too bad. I couldn't find the SEM trim black, which apparently is a closer match to this color of interior, because it's black, but it's really more of a dark gray. But it looks pretty good. I had to swap this out because I needed a non-airbag trim piece to fit the other clock spring with this steering wheel. So now it all works. I got this really fancy intermittent wiper switch, so that all works. That's really just a plug and play thing. This was from an LSI, facelift LSI I found in the junkyard. So that's pretty sweet. My radio stuff, that's what all these wires are, is still non-existent. It's pretty messed up over there. But for some reason, my DCCD controller isn't lining up when I turn the key on. So I need to go back, and I probably have to pull the center console back out and kind of go over the wiring and see if maybe I connected something wrong. Not really sure. Not a huge deal. It takes about 5 minutes to pull all this stuff back out, but yeah, we're pretty much ready to start it, but I haven't heard back from my tuner, so we'll see what his schedule looks like whenever he can come out here. I went ahead and I was working on the front suspension. I got my sway bar connected. I just went with a stock STI front sway bar. So I got a big fat rear sway bar with a stock front one. That should help it, handle a little bit better. If you go big with a front sway bar on Subarus, they tend to understeer. But right now I'm going to throw this bumper on, kind of see how it looks. I don't need the bumper off to put this coupler on, so I'm going to just go ahead and get it on. Alright, got the bumper on. Pretty happy with how that fits. Still have plenty of room in here for the factory fog lights, but we're going to worry about doing fog lights and stuff later. Not really worried about that right now. Just want to get this thing back together, make it a car again. We can do fun stuff like fog lights later, but right now I'm working on getting the wheels put on again. Obviously the alignment's way out, I think that especially the front toe, but I did roll the fenders, so kind of did that off camera. This one I went a little bit too much, but I think it'll clear. I don't know, we'll see. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to raise the rear coilovers, I think, because they're still set up for a GD. So, yeah, we're going to put it on the ground and just see what it looks like for the first time. Dang. That looks pretty sick. Honestly, not too bad as far as fitment goes. I thought I was going to have to raise these back here, but I don't know. I think we might clear, actually. Obviously, the alignment is pretty... I think it's towed in back here, so it looks kind of wonky, but also the control arms on that side aren't tight. I was messing with the camber and stuff, so I need to go back in and remeasure those arms. But let's just take a step back, just kind of soak it in for a second. Obviously, I need to put the lights and everything back in, which I do have some European glass headlights. Here, let's get these off of here. Oh man, I'm pretty stoked. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. So you can see we're really close to getting this thing done. I'm hoping next video, we'll be doing the first start, but right now I'm just going to be messing with the alignment, try to get it. So I like it once he shows up to actually be able to go test drive it once he puts a little bit of a bass tune on it. obviously it's going to drive like crap because speed density, and obviously we don't have a dyno, and he doesn't have a lot of time, but it'll be drivable. So yeah, you can see how towed in that side is there. That one's weird. I think I need more camber on that side because this side fits perfect. But all right, well, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in next time. So hopefully we'll be driving this thing. All right, thanks for watching.